Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and welcome to another one of my complete before and after house flip videos. Now, you might be wondering why I'm starting with this page right here. This is the house that I'm going to go over and tell you about everything we did to it and how much money we made. But this house has been vacant since 2012 until just recently when we sold it. It was a foreclosure, we bought it from an auction, but it literally sat there vacant for 7 years before anybody bought it, owned by the bank. And there's some reasons why that can happen, but it's pretty rare. And I tried to buy this one, I think, back in 2012, and then I did end up buying it again later on in 2000 and right here, 19. This is where we bought it. You can see it's a little worse for wear after sitting there vacant for 7 years, but we ended up buying it for 160 from an auction site that we'll talk about. And then, sorry, I tried to get rid of those, but we ended up selling it for 275. There it is, for 277,500 just a couple of months ago. So it took us a while. There's some reasons why it took us a while too that we'll go over. We made good money on it. It was a good flip. And I'll talk about all of that. We'll show you the before and after videos as well, so you can see the work we did, and you can also see the progress work we did. And something else we did on this house as well is we used a new contractor. So I go over some tips and tricks on how to use new contractors, how we use them in this house, and how it slowed us down a little bit. But that's how I do it on purpose to avoid big, massive mistakes. So let's get started with this video, show you what it looked like when we first bought it. And of course, remember to check out investformore.com for much more information on my flips, rentals, being an agent, all of that great stuff. We appreciate all the likes, so keep those coming on these videos and comments as well.
Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, standing outside a house flip that we're actually buying today. This is a house we bought from HUBZU, which is an online auction site. Foreclosure, have not bought any from them in a long time. We used to buy a lot from HUBZU. I think we paid $160,000 for it. It will need, depending on what we do, from $30,000 to $50,000. Like I said, there's a lot of different things we can do here or not do. And our ARV, after repaired value, probably be around 270, 280, and we'll have another 20 to 25,000 in selling costs, carrying costs, and financing costs as well. So like I said, this one, it's on HUBZU. As you can see, needs quite a bit of work. HUBZU lists their houses in the MLS. They have an online auction. You have to bid on their website, and used to get a lot of great deals on HUBZU, but there just aren't that many foreclosures in Colorado right now. And this house has been vacant for years. They tried to sell it as a foreclosure or short sale 3 or 4 years ago, and I think it's been vacant ever since. I don't know why, but sometimes you see that happen with foreclosures. So we had bid on it a couple times. The bid went higher than we wanted and kept getting beat out, but the reserve wasn't met. So since the reserve wasn't met, it never sold. And then I think like the third or fourth time we bid, and again the reserve wasn't met. But HUBZU asked me, since I think I was the highest bid, hey, will you buy it for 152 plus the buyer's premium? And I said, sure. They accepted my bid, and we ended up getting it for 152 plus 8,000, which was the buyer's premium, so 160 total. And they do pay real estate agent commissions too. So I'll get a commission back for being an agent, 3% I believe on this one. So that's nice. And we'll have to decide, what all to do here. Obviously needs windows, paint, flooring, but it's real hardwood, which we can refinish. That's great. You can see at some point they decided to put the laundry room in this bedroom. We'll take that out, make it a real bedroom again. The bathroom is disgusting. I will spare you showing you the inside of that toilet. It's always fun. Has 3 bedrooms up, and the basement used to be finished, but then I think it flooded at one point, and we'll show you that, and now it's not really finished. Big rooms, good size house, and the master is right here. That room almost feels bigger than the master. I think it is. But the master has another bath. So there you go, another beautiful bathroom that we'll have to do some work on. So part of where we decide if we want to spend the money or not is finishing this basement. And it already was finished before. As you can see, they had sheetrock just attached to the concrete there. There's the wiring. And there was a flood or a pipe broke or something happened. I think they had quite a bit of mold down here. So they just tore all the sheetrock out, all the flooring, everything, left the ceiling, and that was it. As you can see, it had a big family room, 2 bedrooms, and a bathroom. So we could finish this. The question is it worth it? Because it will take, quite a bit of money, probably at least $20,000, if not $25,000. We'll have to pull permits because, you're redoing all of this, which takes time and cost. And then on top of that, you can see the beautiful flies buzzing around. It'll take a lot of resources. It'll take us longer to fix it, more of our guys on this job. So it has to be a pretty big return on our money for us to be willing to do a bunch more work. I mean, really, $10,000 more at the most if we finish this, as opposed to just leaving it as it is. So in my mind, it's better to just leave it as it is, get it done faster, save money on financing, carrying costs, save my crew, let them do other work that makes us more money, and avoid the permit process, which might bring in a lot more, questions about what needs to be done for code and all that stuff. So my thoughts, we'll just leave it, not worry about finishing it. It's supposed to be in the same condition as when we made an offer on it. So if a tree fell on it, we don't have to buy the house if that happened after it went under contract. If it burned down, that was open, not locked. We don't have to keep buying the house, after it burned down. So that's a good reason to always at least drive by and try and get inside the houses before you actually buy them. Here's the back of the house. It needs some work as well. But paint, I think the siding's fine. We just need to paint it, so I'll be okay. Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More. We are standing outside a house flip that we've had for quite a while. It's almost done. Roof, lots of work inside, outside. We'll show you all of that and talk about how we bought it too. So this is a house we purchased from HUBZU, which is kind of like it was a foreclosure. It had been vacant for years, literally years. They finally put it on the market. There's some issues with the lot lines, which I talked about in other videos, but I'll show you that. So it's an online auction and everything's done online. There can be some amazing deals on HUBZU, but it can be very frustrating as well. So we're in Colorado where there are not many foreclosures right now, or have been in the last 5 years, but we used to buy a lot of properties from HUBZU because they're so hard to work with. It often leaves a lot of good deals. So in the kitchen, we painted the cabinets. They're here already, put in the new countertop. Did some work with the windows. Those are all new. Had to do some sheetrock work. Hardwood floors, you can see, have all been refinished. And all new paint, doors. In the bathrooms we redid as well. So it's hard to say how much we spent on this so far, but it probably will be at least in the $40,000 range, if not a little bit more. And we're hoping it'll be worth just under $300 when we're done. And of course, we'll have carrying costs, financing costs, and selling costs as well, which will probably add up to around $20,000 to $25,000 when we're all done. Still have a few things to do. This used to be a laundry room. They converted the laundry room, or the bedroom, to a laundry room. So we'll have to clean that stuff up. We just want this to be a bedroom. The bathroom is not quite all the way done yet. The tile is done, as you can see, but still need vanities in the toilet. Now, I mentioned we used a new contractor. This person had been referred to me by my sister, who'd used him before. And whenever we start working with a new contractor, we don't hire them to do a $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 job. We start very small, and take our time. So often it takes us longer, quite a bit longer, than if we're working with other guys we've worked with for a while. So on this one, for instance, we gave him the window job first. We said, we have so many windows to do, here's what we can pay. Get that job done. We'll take a look. We'll see how fast you do it, how good of a job, and then we can move on from there. And he did a really good job with the windows. You know, did some nice trim work. Actually did a better job than a lot of some of our other guys do on some of the windows. Took him a little longer than we were hoping, but he got it done. Didn't go over budget, and did a good job. So then we gave him some other work. We had him do the tile in the showers, as you can see, and he did decent there. So from that point, like, okay, you're doing a decent job. You're staying on budget. We gave him more work to do. He put in the doors, a bunch of the trim, took off some of the popcorn on the ceiling, and did a really good job there. Now we have him working at another house that we're finishing up in Loveland. That's the house actually we did the big, or had the big addition on the back, where we reworked the entire floor plan. Here is the basement. This used to be finished, but I think it flooded down here and they tore out all the sheetrock. We are just going to leave this unfinished. We're not going to spend all the money to finish everything up because it's just not worth it. Just for the cost of doing all of that. You know, it might add value. It might add a little bit more value than our cost, but it would take us so much more time to do it that it would hurt us in other projects, hurt us in other ways. So if it doesn't make us, you know, $15,000 to $20,000 more, but it still takes us a month, it's just not worth it to us. So we'll leave that unfinished, and it really, I think it would probably break even if you fall on your face on the stairs. No, if we were to finish that, the cost to finish versus the difference in sales price is not that much. All right, then we'll talk about the back here as well. Oh, there you can see all the doors. This is, I mean, in a perfect world, you re-pour all this concrete. But that's really pricey, and I don't think we have to do that. But out here, it's even worse. The house is fine. It's just the garage and this patio. And so we're thinking maybe we'll just build a little deck over it. We're not sure yet. But this pad is pretty bad. We did put the fence in all the way around. Not all the way around, but over to that fence. So it has a huge yard, almost 1/3 of an acre. And one reason this property was vacant for so long was our lot actually goes to the middle of that garage. So the owner had to create an easement because that is not our lot, although it looked like it was part of this lot with the garage at one time. It was a separate parcel, but they had built the garage on this lot, so they had to get an easement done, allowing them to use part of this lot. We built the fence, so it's very clear where the lot line is, and even though legally part of that lot is ours, they have an easement to use it as long as that garage is standing, so it's basically their land. Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, standing outside a house flip that is 99.9% done. This is a house we bought from HUBZU, which is an online auction format, and it was a foreclosure. So this house was vacant for years before we bought it, just sitting there. And it was kind of weird because at first the lot next door was thought to be included with that garage over there, but it was not. It was just the garage was on this land, so there had to be an easement given to that lot to fix it, but we still have a very big lot here. But we ended up buying this property for right around $160,000. Probably put close to $50,000 of work into it, and we sort of have it under contract for $280,000, and we'll have another kind of $20,000 to $25,000 in other costs. Actually, maybe less than that because there's no commission in that deal. So probably $15,000 to $20,000 in other costs on this property. And the people found us because we have that sign in the yard that kind of says "We buy houses." And they asked us for sale, started talking to them, and we ended up coming together on a deal. So that was nice. to have that happen because it happens quicker, and we save a commission because they're not working with a real estate agent. But you can see we painted these cabinets. These were the cabinets that were in this house before. New appliances, new counters, and then we still had to find a piece that matched there, which our contractor did do, so that's one of the few things we have left to do. Refinish the hardwood, new doors, new paint, new fixtures. This is the house that we did try out a new contractor on, and he did a good job, so he's working on some other stuff for us as well. You can see that. On some of our other houses, we have not been so lucky. And we've had a number of contractors who we have stopped using, lost, or they quit, or got fired in the last year. I think, boy, we've had at least 3 or 4 people who've been working for us for a while or doing major jobs who are not working with us anymore. And just recently, one of our newer contractors who had been doing a good job, we thought things were going well, disappeared and stopped working, stopped responding to texts. Ooh, that's ugly. Need to fix that too. And totally disappeared. So that's just something you have to deal with sometimes. Unfortunately, it's a business where you have a lot of turnover. We had another contractor do that earlier who quit, stopped responding to texts, wouldn't call us, and disappeared right before coronavirus. And then as soon as the coronavirus happened and all that new unemployment benefits came out, he filed for unemployment. But you do not get unemployment if you quit. You get unemployment if you're fired or laid off. And you have to be, if you're fired for good reason, you also may not get unemployment. So if people are wondering about all that, you don't just get unemployment automatically if you quit or are fired for good reason. It's kind of a laid off thing where the company doesn't need you or they don't have a good reason for firing you. So we've done that with a few people in our office, contractors, and very rarely do they ever end up collecting unemployment because we don't just fire people or get rid of them for no reason. There is a reason why we let people go. All right, the basement down here, we are not finishing it, selling it like it is right now. We did clean it up some, but it was finished at one time. How long ago it was, I do not know, because we actually had, or a contractor said, a lady came by last week who used to live in this house like 7 or 8 years ago, and she said it looked exactly like this back then as well. So when it did flood, I'm assuming it had a flood, and that's why they tore everything out. It was like 10 years ago or longer. And then another thing we'll talk about real quick is I know the buyers had some concern about the cracks in the foundation. And one good rule of thumb that I've always heard, inspectors always told me, concrete guys, if your crack is more than 1/4 inch wide, it's something to be worried about. Or if it's offset more than 1/4 inch, meaning this side sticks out farther than that side, more than 1/4 inch, that's something to be worried about. But something like that, where it's like 1/8 of an inch, there's no offset, is kind of a normal stress crack. It happens all the time. It's probably not a big deal. And we see those all the time. In fact, concrete, I mean, it will move. There's some little stress cracks right there. It's just the ground moves some, the concrete moves some. That's natural. It's just when you get big movement, like my other foundation house, where there's problems. And a lot of times you'll see them, cut lines in the concrete, or they'll pour it in squares. So the cracks, when they do occur, happen along those seams and not in the middle of a giant slab. So out here, I promise to talk about concrete. All right. So that's a pretty major crack, right? Pretty ugly. But we're in the garage, and it's not structural. The actual footers and foundation poured for the house and garage is fine. It's flat. The foundation in this house is fine. It's flat. It's just this slab has either risen or sunk in spots. You could re-pour this for probably at least a few $1,000s or more. However, you're probably not going to get that much money back when you sell it. It's kind of ugly, but it's the garage, and I think most people will think that as well. And you can kind of see the driveway out there is kind of ugly. It doesn't even go all the way to the sidewalk, which is weird. And the neighbors' houses do that as well, if you can see that. You could re-pour that whole driveway for like, I don't know, $5,000 to $10,000. But we don't need to. The house will still sell with it like that. Just for the fact that most people say, oh yeah, that driveway's kind of ugly. You know, that sucks. But it's not a deal killer. It's not the house that's bad. It's the driveway. And so we're going to show you out back something that we did to save some money, because we showed this in the last video. Ta-da! We had a concrete pad out here that was really, really cracked. And this one was so bad that we did get a bid. And I think our bid was $5,700 to replace that pad, dig it out. You can see under there. Instead, we thought, hey, let's just build a deck over it. So that is what we did. And the deck was $2,600, half the price, more than half the price of repouring the pad. And it's looks better than concrete to me. All right, so that is the house. Like I said, we bought it for $160 from HUBZU, which means I earned a commission when I bought it as an agent too. I love HUBZU. They are a horrible company, and because of that, you can get really good deals because they don't market them very well. They don't really know what they're doing. We probably put total $60,000 to $70,000 when you include repairs and other costs. We sort of have it under contract for $280. Still waiting for the document to be signed, but supposedly earnest money got dropped off already. Just waiting for that to be signed. So if that goes through, everything goes as planned. Should be a good flip, should be a good deal. And just have to wait and see if that all gets signed. All right, so let's look at the repairs on this property. I've got them written out so I don't forget them. The roof was a very expensive roof. A lot of times we'll pay from, I don't know, $6,000 to $8,000 for a roof this size, but this one had damage underneath. It had some structural issues, so it was a very expensive roof. We put up some fence in the back. I don't know if I mentioned it. I think I did, but that's a meat packing plant right behind the house. Baths, we did a lot of work there where we completely redid both bathrooms. That's where we used the new contractor. That's where he did a lot of his work. And he did a really good job. I think he said one of those was his first time tiling. So kudos to him. He did great. And that's why we're still using him. Flooring, refinishing the hardwood floors. Paint, there's a lot of paint on the outside of the house and the inside of the house and the kitchen cabinets, which we saved and painted. And the deck on the back was about $2,200 with labor and materials. Now, there was a lot of miscellaneous items, so that's a big number, from adding some outside trim and different things to the house, to countertops, to appliances can be put in there, light fixtures. There was a lot of little small stuff that went into this house. But you can see, if you add all this up together, that total is right about $40,000. I can do math really, really fast, in case you're wondering. No, I knew that before. But that's kind of why we didn't finish that basement, because it probably would have cost us another $25,000 to $30,000 to finish that basement, another month or two at least, and it probably would not have added that much value to the house. Maybe $30,000, $35,000, maybe not. And so much time and so many resources that we are using to finish that basement, and we could be using those resources on other houses, other flips, and just moving things faster. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're doing repair jobs, and that's why we've, especially lately, been really trying to keep down the repair costs and the amount of work we're doing, because it just takes so many resources. All right, another important cost that a lot of people forget, especially the house flipping shows, are the other costs, and part of those are carrying costs while you hold the property. So even if you have a property that you pay cash for, you're still gonna have costs while you own that property. It's not just gonna be sitting there costing you nothing. Utilities, right? When we own this property, we have to make sure the heat's on so the pipes don't freeze. Even though we have the water off as well, we still want the heat to be on. We want the electric to be on. We usually have the water on so we can water the grass or weeds in this case during the summer. So those costs add up over time. And even if you don't use the water, you still have sewer charges, there's base charges. It's not just free. So since we own this for a year, which is a long time, a lot of those costs add up. We also have property tax, which in Colorado is really cheap. It is $848 a year for property tax in Colorado. That is for this one property. Really low. And one reason why Colorado has such low property taxes is in 1982, they passed a law that said only a certain percentage of property taxes can be assigned to residential. The rest have to be assigned to commercial. So because of that, we have really low residential, but pretty high commercial taxes. So on my commercial properties, I'm not so happy with that law. On my residential properties, it's great. But there is a bill to change that this year where they might repeal that and kind of bring the commercial and residential taxes in line with each other. And personally, I'd be happy with that because I pay a lot more in commercial taxes than I do residential taxes. But moving on, insurance. While we own the house, we have to have insurance. My lenders require it in case the house burns down. They want to make sure I can pay them back, which I could, but that's a good thing to have. And then maintenance, mowing the lawn, doing snow removal, all those things have to happen while you own the house. And I'm not going to be out there doing it. We have other people doing it. So all of this adds up to about $5,300 for that cost. More costs that you will have when flipping houses are selling costs. Again, some costs that some people leave out. But when we sell a house, we almost always have to pay another real estate agent to sell it for us. So I'm a real estate broker, I'm an agent. We can list it for very little. There's some cost to us, but I don't have to pay another agent to list the house. We can do that in my office. But 95% of the time, another agent will sell that house. They'll have the buyer. I make way more money allowing other agents to show and sell my houses than if I try to do it all myself or had to keep them all in-house. Plus, it's not really legal, so there's that aspect of it too. So I'm happy to pay a commission, which is usually 3% is what we pay on our houses that we sell. Now that can be negotiated, but that's just what we offer other agents for their buyer side. On this one, I have $500 here because we actually found the buyers on this one. It's the first time in a very long time. This house was in a small town. Some people who really wanted a house in there and could not find one saw our sign up that said that we buy houses in our colorful Colorado, we buy houses sign. And so they called us up, said we want to buy it. And we get people quite a bit who call up those signs and say they want to buy or rent our houses, but very rarely does it actually work out. And this time it did. We negotiated a price, came up with a deal. So there was no real estate agent commission, which saved us $8,000, $9,000 on this deal. Now I did give them probably a better price than I would have if we were putting it on the market. So it's kind of a wash on whether it really saves you money or not, because if we put this on the market, we probably could have sold it for at least that much more, maybe a little more than even $10,000. But we had it under contract before we were actually finished. So we sold fairly quick, or at least we should have sold fairly quick. Their lender took a little extra time. But in theory, we should have sold fairly quick. So I know a lot of people try to sell houses themselves. They don't use agents, or if they're an agent, they try and find the buyers on their own. And it can work, but honestly, in my experience, it doesn't save you any money, and it creates more hassle because you have more work working with a buyer now. Just because a lot of times you'll get less money than if it's open to a bunch of different buyers. And if you're selling houses, if you're trying to get them under contract before you're done, sometimes it can take longer than you think. That can cause problems. And the market can even increase or change if you have a house under contract for 3 months while you're doing the work. And we've had that happen in the past as well. So overall, I prefer just to have other agents sell my houses, but once in a while, we do get one where we actually have the buyer, and that was this case. So I put $500 here just because it cost my office a tiny bit of money to list it. Title work, I mean, title company will guarantee clear title, that's that. And then closing fees, there's some closing fees I pay for, dock fees, flood fees, closing fee. So we have that all together. So the selling costs were not very much on this one at all at $3,700. All right, so we're at the financing costs on this house. Now I did this flip a little different than some of the other ones you might see on these complete before and after videos. A lot of the other ones we do hard money, sometimes we do bank money, but many of my hard money loans are simply 100% financing, no repairs. But this one was 100% financing plus repairs. So I have a hard money lender who prefers it this way, where he wants to loan me as much money as he possibly can. And so he'll loan me 100% of the purchase price plus the repairs I anticipate when I buy the property. So I'll actually walk away from closing when I buy this property with like 20 grand in my pocket, which is kind of cool. But it also costs you a little extra money. But when you're flipping houses, there's a whole lot of money you need, especially when you have 15 to 20 of them going at once. So it doesn't hurt to have that extra cash around in case you need it. So we bought it for about 160, and he asked me, what do you think repairs are? I'll usually say 25,000. I know they probably would be more than that, but I don't need the full amount. So I'll say 25,000. So our loan on this one was $185,000. I think it was 9% interest rate. So interest was $16,000 for a full year because we had it that long. And then points 3,700, which is 2% of that number right there. So our total ended up being $19,700 for the financing costs. So how much did we end up making on this house total? That's always a fun one to do. Well, sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's not much fun at all, especially when you lose money, but when you make money, it's fun. All right, so profit, we sold the house for $277,500. As I said, we maybe could have sold it for more if we put it on the market, used an agent, but still happy with that. We bought it for $160,320. That was a great deal. I bought it from HUBZU. I think we bid on it a few different times. They'll just have their auctions keep going if the reserve isn't met, and they raise and lower that reserve for each auction. So we just keep bidding, keep bidding, keep bidding, and hopefully at some point it gets low enough where it works for us before someone else buys it. And that happened to happen with this property. So we bought a lot of houses from HUBZU in the past, not so much recently just because there aren't that many foreclosures here, but I've gotten some really, really good deals on HUBZU. Selling costs, $3,700. Those were really low because there was no commission. Repairs right around $40,000. Carrying costs, $5,300. And then this one I didn't talk about yet, commission back. And it is in red or pink, whatever you like to call that. My markers are getting old, so I'm recycling some markers. But that's money I got back when I bought it because HUBZU pays a 3% commission. So since I'm my own agent, my own broker, that's money I got back. And then financing costs. So we take all of this and move it over to here, and we made right around $53,000 on that deal. So overall, this was a really good flip. It took us too long. We should have done it much faster, but there were a lot of reasons why it took us so long. This is one of the cheaper properties that we had in our inventory. We had a lot of flips going when I bought it. I think like 18 or something like that. So for the cheaper properties, they actually cost us less money to hold because the interest is lower on the loans that we have against them. So we tend to have those take their time more than the more expensive properties. But right now, that's one thing we're really trying to work on is get these done faster, quicker, not hold them so long. It's something I've been working on for like 20 years, and eventually we might get there, we'll see. But that's the house. It was a good one, a fun one. We like how it turned out. I think we made some good decisions not finishing the basement, and people obviously still wanted to buy it. All right, so thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please give us a like if you like this one. It takes quite a bit of work for us to put these together with all the numbers and everything. We appreciate all the comments, so keep those coming. New subscribers, welcome. I hope you enjoy it. And of course, we have 9 books on Amazon and a ton of free articles and a free book on investformore.com as well.